Welcome to Inspiration Station, where we build a sanctuary for your creative spark together. I'm Karina Pardis, a composer, activist, chocoholic, and self-care mom, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a place for you whenever you need encouragement or a reminder to believe in you. Today we are talking about the power of storytelling and how you hold this power already inside of you. As humans, we were created with the neurocapacity to make connections. A snapping twig equals danger. And we have evolved to create meaning out of those connections. Is it a tiger? A burglar? This capacity to create meaning, also known as storytelling, is constantly happening inside of us, even if we're unaware of it. Have you ever had the experience where someone hasn't responded to your text yet? What does your brain start doing? It starts creating a reason. Has to create a story and put meaning to that story. Is it because they hate me? They're in the shower? Are they driving? Endless possibilities. Lisa Cron said, "Story, as it turns out, was crucial to our evolution, more so than opposable thumbs. Opposable thumbs let us hang on. Story told us what to hang on to." That's from her book, Wired for Story. So good. This inherent ability that was designed to keep us safe can be practiced and harnessed to connect us to each other and enhance our creativity. Jimmy Neal Smith said, "We are all storytellers. We all live in a network of stories. There isn't a stronger connection between people than storytelling." In order to assimilate that and really see that power of how there isn't a stronger connection between people than storytelling, I want you to think about someone that you're super close to. What is the story that you share? What would your relationship be without that story? Think about what it is that you do. What are your different identities? What are the stories that inherently come with that? Would you be the same without those stories? The answer is no. Our stories drive who we are and who we become. A really important part of the strong connection between people and how storytelling is that glue, we need to include others in our story. There is so much power in including other people in our story. Think again about that person that you're super close to. What would happen to that closeness if you stopped including them in your story? Because people did not evolve to just know and understand what everyone else is thinking, sharing what we are thinking with others is essential for relationship building. It would be like if I told my husband of 10 years that we've been together for long enough, he should know what I want for my birthday. I'm going to be immensely disappointed unless I actually let him know what it is I want for my birthday. Relationships aren't built on guessing. They're built on experiencing things together. My husband can't know what I'm experiencing, even if we're in the same room together, unless I share it with him. Including others in your story is pivotal when it comes to our progression and growth. This is especially important when we are struggling. Other people will not know your struggle unless you share it. And when we share our struggle, there is strength there. We don't need to carry the entire burden of our story alone. That would be a really boring story. There are 4 main types of storytelling. There's past stories. Remember when? And we remember. And it's super awesome. These are the stories that we tell ourselves about who we were. Future stories. Won't it be great when? And we tell ourselves stories about our future and our dreams. These are the stories about who we will become. There's pretend or imaginative stories, which I talked about last time, how important these are. We can experience them through reading, playing role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, playing make-believe, having pretend play, and daydreaming. These pretend and imaginative stories, even though they're not real, are still super important to the development of our brain's connections to other people's experiences, our own experiences, and especially in the development of empathy, risk-taking, and problem-solving. The final type of storytelling are current stories. This is the story I'm telling myself right now about what I'm experiencing and who I am. Our current stories outline how we perceive our past stories and how we will generate our future stories. If the story I'm telling myself right now is that I'm terrible, there's no way I can do what I want to do, I'm so bad, I just can't do it, I just don't know, I'm awful, then my past stories are going to be skewed to either think I was so awesome then and now I suck, or I've always been bad, so there's no surprise that I'm bad now. And it distorts what my future story can be. If I'm terrible now, I will always be terrible. Or maybe I won't one day, but I can't figure out how I'll get there. That's a really heavy burden for one person to create for themselves. Now, I want to acknowledge that things are hard. Struggle is real. It's hard learning new things, and it's hard doing things that you don't know how to do. I am not discounting the struggle, but I am trying to help you see that there are better stories that you can tell yourself. The power of yet is phenomenal. Instead of saying, I'm so terrible, I can't do this, you can say, this is hard and I can't do it yet. The yet creates space for possibility. We talked about imagining last time. There can be no imagining if you've already decided that you are awful at whatever it is that's happening. On the flip side, if the story we're telling ourselves is, this is hard, but I can do it, we see our past stories as something that we have learned from that has helped us get to the point that we are in gratitude and in faith and hope for what our future stories will hold, because we know that it will be wonderful, because we can keep going no matter what. I learned about the power of the phrase, the story I'm telling myself, from Brené Brown. You should definitely check out her TED Talk. I will put it in the description below. Being able to share the story I'm telling myself allows us to tap into the power of vulnerability and who we really are and who we want to be. And then recognizing that story empowers us to take action on that story, either to change the story or to continue building upon that story. The story I'm telling myself gives us the choice. Is this the story that I want? Is it something that serves me? And if not, you have the power to change it. We don't have the power to change every circumstance, but we do have the power to tell a different story and to believe in ourselves that we are capable of creating something new. The story I'm telling myself becomes even more powerful when we share it with others. When we include others in our story, then we are able to have a circle of support. We can have people that we trust that can help remind us of the story that we want, and that sometimes the story we tell ourselves are completely false. When we think, I suck, and that's the story that we tell ourselves, we can have people that remind us that that is a feeling and not a fact. That story is false. Sometimes our head voices are liars. Not to mention the everlasting, unchangeable truth that you are worthy as you are because you are a human being and thus you have eternal worth. Nothing can change that. No circumstance can change that. No story can change that. The stories can change if we believe it or not. All of these stories and how we engage with them impact our creativity. They can inhibit our creativity or empower our creativity and magnify our current abilities and capabilities to become something bigger than what they are currently. So I invite you to think about the stories you're telling yourself. It can be a big story that you break into smaller pieces, or however you choose to define them, but write them down. See them on paper. That helps me to kind of sift through all of the extra noise in my brain and distractions from life in general, to be able to see what are these stories, what are the ones I want to keep, and what are the ones that I want to discard. And if I want to discard it, how can I change it to replace it with something that is more helpful? Even if the story is true. For example, I feel like my body does not look like I want it to. But if I say, gosh, I'm so fat, whether I think that's true or not, it is not helpful to motivate me to create change. We do that with our creativity a lot too. Man, this project sucks. We can think that's true, but that is not a story that helps us make it better. So find the stories that you want to discard and how to replace them or change them in a way that gets you where you want to go. And then when you find those stories that you want to keep, practice them. Creating stories is still a skill that we can practice to make better, to help influence our lives in the way that we want them to be, instead of being a product of reaction to the meaning-making machine that is our brain. Charles DeLint said, "Don't forget, no one else sees the world the way you do, so no one else can tell the stories you have to tell." I believe your story matters, and I believe that the way that you engage with that story matters even more. I know that you can create amazing, powerful stories that will not only help you to envision and create a better future, but will help the people around you to do so as well. Creativity enacts change, just simply by the fact that you're building something that didn't exist before. And the power of that change expands beyond what you can imagine. Ripples make waves, and the story you tell yourself creates the first ripple. I know that awareness of our stories is the first step to creating stories that we want to see. The more we practice that, the better we will become at sharing those stories and building them together. Thank you so much for listening. I'm excited to talk to you again soon. Until then, stay creative. Here in this moment with human needs and growing dreams, there's so much out there in the world. Commercials and billboards are telling you just what to do and asking who you think you are. Which voice will you listen to?